right, hello Algebra 1. So today we're looking at percent of change. And the big thing you want to remember about percent of change is that it's your amount of change over your original amount. So that's probably a thing you're going to want to jot down somewhere so you don't have to keep coming back to slide 17 of the Jamboard to look at it. So your percent of change is your amount of change over your original amount. So if we've got an original that's 15 and a new amount that's 18, and we want our amount of change, we're just looking for how much did we go up or down by. So we're going from 15 to 18, we're going up by, 3. So we're going up by 3. Over, and watch out for this is over your original amount, so that's 15. Okay, but we said this was percent of change, so we probably want that as a percent. So if we want that as a percent, we're going to take that 3 divided by 50, which gives you 0.2. And then if we want that as a percent, we're going to take that decimal point and we're going to scoot it over 2 places that way. So that's 20%. And then since we were going up, we're going to call that a 20% increase. Kind of makes sense. Increasing something, you're going up. Nothing too awful there. So it's a 20% increase. Okay. Alright, let's try another one of those. So, same sort of thing. So if we're going from 120 to 80, we're taking 120 minus 80, that gives you 40. So we're going down 40. So the only thing that changes if this is going down is at the end, instead of an increase, it's going to be a decrease. So we've got 40 over your original amount, which was 120. So then if we want that as a percent, we're taking your top divided by your bottom, which gives you 0.3 repeating. And just stick a couple more 3s on there. So we're going to call that 33.3 repeating percent. And then if we're going down, that's going to be a decrease. Nothing too awful. Okay, one funky thing that can happen with this is if you get something like this. So same sort of thing, if we're looking for our amount of change, we're looking for how much we're going up or down by. So if we're going from 5 to 20, we're going up by 50. Over our original amount, which was 5. Now, if you divide that, that's 3. Importantly, that's not 3%. First of all, because that wouldn't make much sense. If we get 5 and we're only going up at 3%, we definitely wouldn't be going all the way up to 20. And even if we start off with a number, if we're changing that to a percent, we still want to go 2 places that way. So this decimal place starts here if it's not anywhere, and we're going 2 places that way. So this is really 300%, which makes a bit more sense. Because if we're starting off with 5 and we're going all the way up to 20, okay, that's quite a big percent of increase there. And yeah, up, so increase. Okay, the other thing that gets lumped into this section is things where we have tax and tips and discounts, because all of those things are percents. Okay, and the big thing to remember about this is if it's a tax or if it's a tip, you're going up. So we're going to add it at the end. If it's a discount, we're going down. Yeah, the other ones I could do in my hand, and these ones I'm going to need this. Okay, so if we've got a $35 shirt with a 5% tax, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn that percent into a decimal. So we're going to take this 5%, and if you don't have a decimal point, it's here at the end, and we're going to scooch it over 2 places that way. So you get 0.05, and then we're going to take that times our original amount, which was our 35. So we're going to take 0.05 times 35, and that gives you 1.75. Importantly, that's not your answer, that's just your tax. So then once we've got that tax is something we're adding, so we're going to add that to our original $35, which gives you $36.75. And there we go. Now, technically, if you want to get fancy, the other way you could do that is we could say that if we want a 5% tax, what we really want is 100% plus that 5%, because this is really 100% of our original amount. This is our 5%. So instead of finding those two things separately, you can also find it all in one go. So if we call this 105%, and we take 1.05 times your 35, that will get you right to this without that little in-between step. So you're really doing the same thing. It's just a matter of whether you're adding on that 5% here or whether you're finding it separately and adding it on there. Either one's fine. All right, same sort of thing here. So tips, again, are things that we're going to be adding. So we're going to take that 15%, turn it into a decimal, scooch it over 2 places that way. So if you call this 0.15, then we're taking that times our 1758. And again, you can also do the thing where you add a 1 in front there and then you don't have to add it at the end. That's fine. Feel free to do that if you like. So we're taking that 0.15 times our 17.58, which gives you 2.637, but money. Money in general is going to get 2 decimal places. So usually I'm not thinking about where you round things. Money, we do want 2 decimal places. So we're going to round that up to 0.64. And then we're going to add it to the 1758 that we started off with. And again, adding because it's a tip. Tips are things that we add. Your shippers will get very grumpy if you subtract your tip instead. So we're going to take our 17.58 plus our 2.64, which gives you 20.22, and stick it out to that. Cool. Okay. The only difference if you get a discount is we're subtracted at the end. So we're still doing the same thing. We're still turning this into a decimal, scooching it over 2 places that way. So we're going to call this 0.2. And if you want to throw the 0 on there, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to do anything either. So I'm just going to leave that off. So we're taking that times our 5.80. So we got 0.2 times 5.8. You can also leave the 0 after that, which gives you 1.16. And if that's our discount, then instead of adding, we're subtracting. So we're going to take that 580 minus that 1.16, which gives you 464. And there we go. Now, if you're doing the thing over here where you throw a 1 in front of, where you throw a 1 in front of the 0.05, importantly, you don't want to put a 1 in front of that 2 here. So what you want to do instead is, another way to do this, is instead of saying we've got a 20% discount that we're going to take away, we can figure out how much is left. So if I take away 20%, that's 80% that's still there. So another way to get to this is to say if I have a 20% discount, that's 80% that's left. So I can also take 0.8 times that 5.80. And that will get me right to that without that in-between step. Just double checking that. And that'll get us right here. So feel free to use that shortcut. You just don't want to mix up which way you're doing it. So if it's something that you're going to be adding at the end, you throw a 1 in front of it. If it's something you're going to be subtracting, then you're finding how much is left afterwards. So in general, if you're adding something, you should end up with a bigger number. If you get a discount, you should end up with something smaller. Otherwise, something went very, very wrong with your discount. Okay. Only other thing that's going on is, what if we've got both? So if I've got a discount and then tax, you might be asking, well, which one do we have to do first? Nice thing is, it doesn't matter which one you do first, because all we're doing is multiplying, and if we're multiplying numbers, it doesn't matter which order we do that in. Do I take 2 times 3 times 4? It doesn't matter which one I do first. So we're just multiplying here, so order doesn't matter. But just for the sake of keeping things nice, I'm going to deal with the 25 first, and then we can deal with the round thing where we're probably going to have to end up rounding it. Just a heads up that if you do this one first, and if you do end up rounding something, you might end up with something slightly different depending on how you round, but within a cent or two, you should end up with the same thing. Okay, so if you want a 25% discount, we're going to call that 0.25. Because again, we're taking this, moving it over 2 spots, 1, 2, and we're taking that times your 48.59, which gives you okay, which gives you 12.1475, but again, money. So we're going to round that up to a 5. Okay, and importantly, that's not the answer. We're not done. That's just our discount. So we're going to subtract that from the thing we had originally, which was 48.59 minus your 12.15, you got that? Which gives you like 36.44. Okay, now, importantly, when we go to the next step to find our tax, you're not finding 6.25% of this anymore. Now we're finding 6.25% of this. So we're still taking this, moving it 2 spots this way. 1, 2. So you got 0.0625. And yes, some states do have funny sales tax. That's not a nice whole number. I think it might actually be one of them. I'm not sure off the top of my head what South Dakota sales tax is. That's bad. I should know that. And we got 36.5. I look it up every year. We got 36.44. And now we're multiplying those. So we get 0.0625 times your 36.44, which gives you 2.2775, and again, money. So we're going to round that up to 0.28. And that was your tax. So it's something we're adding, and importantly, the thing we're adding it to is that 36.44 that we got after our discount. So when you're adding your tax, you're adding it to your discounted amount, not what you started off with. So we're adding these two, which gives you 38.72. And there we go. All right. So that is that. Numbers are in the description below. They're also up on Google Classroom. This is going to be due on Monday. If we're back in school on Monday, feel free to just hang on to it and hand it to me then. If we learn over the weekend that we're not going to be back in school on Monday, then go ahead and take a picture of it and either upload that to Google Classroom or you can email that to me. Either one's fine. All right, and I will hopefully see you guys on Monday.